This is going to be another one of those face reality type videos. They don't typically do too well, but it's the topics of this video are going to kind of tie in to my last face reality slash rant video. And this one's going to be a little tricky because a lot of people are probably going to mistake my intentions with this video, but those of you who know me, you know I don't have a hateful bone in my body. I've talked about my past many times, and before we go any further, if you are one of the newer subscribers, first of all, thank you. But if you haven't seen some of my older videos, I highly encourage you to go through my shower thoughts slash hot takes playlist folder, and I want you guys to understand that what I'm about to talk about, it's an actual issue. It's not something I'm just making up on the spot. But without further ado, we should really just jump into it. Have you guys noticed that when you go to your local grocery store, or when you go to like a local sports center, or go to basically any retail place, have you noticed that some of the people who work there barely speak English? Have you noticed that? I've started to notice that. Now, I live in a state that's kind of purple, right? Sometimes it's Democrat, sometimes it's Republican. It's kind of like 50-50 around here. But lately, this is actually a sanctuary state I live in, which basically means it's an illegal alien state. You know, if someone claims they're running from home, they can come here legally, illegally, if that makes sense. Yeah, make it make sense. But I've noticed lately that there have been a lot of smaller retail positions, something as simple as working at a gas station counter or working as a cashier in like a Walmart. I've noticed lately that a lot of these jobs have been going to people who can barely speak English. But it's not just these jobs either. It's also call centers. I actually had to schedule a doctor's appointment the other day, and one of the people who I was talking to, their name was Mohammed. And Mohammed, well, his accent was so strong you could barely understand him. And this isn't some kind of like racist thing. I actually have some numbers here to back up what I'm about to talk about. And that is the fact that legal immigration or temporary immigration, such as work permits and stuff, um, it's kind of destroying this country right now. It really is. And it really doesn't take a mathematician to understand why. I mean, I have graphs and some charts here that really date back to the early 60s, as well as another graph here that dates during and I believe slightly after COVID. But the job market after COVID hit still hasn't recovered. And what little jobs have been regained, most of them have gone to immigrants. And over half of which are actually on work visas, which means they don't live here, right? They basically come here for a year or 2 years, and then based on how good they work, they can renew that visa and stay here pretty much permanently as long as they're willing to work. And to me, that seems extremely unfair. As an American who's been looking for a job for quite a while, basically any job, literally any job that pays money, my job is being taken by people who don't even live here. People who literally barely speak English. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I actually saw in California there have been two sanctuary citizens, they're illegal aliens, they're not supposed to be here, who have been granted CDLs. CDLs are licenses that you need to have to drive a semi truck across the country, right? To deliver dry canned goods, fruits, vegetables, basically, you know, take things across the country, things of importance. And there have been two instances now where California has approved CDLs for two immigrants who do not know how to drive these semi trucks, these vehicles, and it's led to mass tragedies of literal families being removed from the earth, so to speak. And this is one of those topics that not a lot of people like to talk about because of how sensitive it is. But again, this is something that we're all seeing. If you're on the internet, even like for like 12 hours a week, this is something you see. This is something you hear. This is a genuine problem. And really, I'm just making this video as an open discussion. I mean, what do you guys think about this? Should America really even be allowing these work visa immigrants into the country right now? Because in my opinion, we're kind of going backwards. We're doing everything last first, and we're saving everything that we should be doing, like fixing the job market, until the very end. And this also ties back to the government shutdown right now. The government's been shut down for quite a few days, and let's be honest here, it's not a, oh, both sides. No, the people holding the government hostage are Democrats. And there are videos online of Democrats basically saying, oh, we get it. It sucks not being able to have food, but this is for the greater good. Basically, them saying that the American people's suffering is worth it, even though they themselves aren't suffering one bit. They're eating ribeye steaks and mashed potatoes and gravy every night with a side of cheesecake that just got fresh out of the oven. You know what I mean? This is America has basically legalized slavery in the grand scheme of things, and I don't know how to feel about that. The economy has reached a point where the only way these corporations can make more profits, can make even more green, is by basically slavery, by hiring foreign workers from foreign lands to work for less and work longer hours and work harder than the average Joe. And on paper, that sounds good, but look at the charts. These graphs I'm showing you, well, the graph I'm showing you with all of the percentages and stuff, this is only for men, not black, not white, all men in America, 24 to 25 years old. And I'm honestly wondering what this graph would look like if it was expanded for men aged 18 to 30. I mean, it looks bad just for 25 to 24, but this is something that's on my mind, and I really want you guys to see this, to talk about it, because it is a topic that we as Americans really need to focus on, because America was founded by literal Englishmen who then, in the 13 original colonies, allowed people to move here. And my ancestors, they came to this country. They were Irish Irish immigrants. They came to this country, Irish and Polish, a little bit of German too, but they came to this country and they were working in mines for literal pennies an hour, right? So on the one hand, it's like, yeah, I don't mind immigration, but what I do seem to have a problem with is this temporary immigration situation where people basically get all the benefits of being an immigrant without actually being one. You know what I mean? It'd be a whole different story if someone actually moved here to the States with their family and wanted to live here. That would be different. But we actually have people coming to this country with work visas who are extremely radical and are trying to push their harmful religious ideas onto the American public in these sanctuary cities, similar to Dearborn, Michigan. And recently there was actually a Christian man who was speaking with the mayor of Dearborn about the Islamic calls to prayer every morning, every day, really. And the mayor told him, "You are not welcome here." And that got a little bit of news coverage, but the problem is platforms like Google and stuff, they are extremely biased. So when you look up this stuff, unless you are actively looking for at least 15 to 20 minutes, you're never going to find the actual truth. And that's why I want to talk about this, because I'm sure this video will be suppressed by the YouTube algorithm. Videos like these usually are, because they revolve around topics that, let's just say, are kind of taboo, right? But in the end, I want America to be better than it was back in the 70s and 80s. I want America to return to that point in time where you could go to your local drugstore, your corner store, with a single dollar and leave with 2 cans of soda and a candy bar. That's what I want this country to look like, you know? And I honestly don't think right now is a good time for America to be accepting basically anybody. We should kind of follow Poland's suit and make our immigration system not impossible, but way, way, way more fine detailed and fine tuned for the people who actually want to live here, right? The people who actually want to assimilate and have their own family and live without fear from things like the Mexican cartel or Sharia law overseas, right? To get away from places like China and the negative cons of communism, right? But unfortunately, that's that these work visas, they kind of bypass that whole process. And ultimately, I think more people need to talk about this. This is something that is taking livelihoods from us Americans. I know a lot of you guys are around my age. I can actually see through my YouTube studio the age and the overall attention span of you guys, and some videos do better than others, but most of you are around my age. And I've talked about stuff like this before on stream and in videos, and a lot of you guys seem to not only agree with me, but actually want me to talk more about this. And while I do want to talk about actual real life problems like this, almost no one wants to listen. It reminds me of a song called The Void from Which No One Knows My Name, or something like that. But in this song, it's made by a band called Rivers of Nile, by the way. Check it out if you haven't. Super awesome band. But one of the main themes of this song is how whenever an artist wants to actually sing about something important, no one listens. But instead, when they sing about things that really don't matter, everyone listens, right? And this is kind of one of those same situations where I make a video, I pour my heart and soul into it, I actually try to bring up issues that matter to keep everyone on the same page. You know, I'm a firm believer that voting can actually change this country for the better, regardless of whoever you vote for. And in a world now where information is flying, well, in a different time, the early 2000s, where the internet was still in its infancy. Nowadays, if something happens, it's all over the internet in less than 5 seconds. And you know, we really need to just focus on these things whilst also not forgetting about them, right? Because in a world where the news is updated so frequently, it's very difficult to remember important details and stuff like that. And I know a lot of my, well, some of my political content has done better than others, right? But at the end of the day, I really do believe that we, as not only younger Americans, but even, you know, you guys who are millennials or Gen X, you know, we really need to get on the same page here. And that is that America is not in a good position right now. And there needs to be a serious discussion on whether or not keeping America's doors open, especially for temporary, like work visas, if that's even a good thing. But in the end, I wanted to make this video to just see what you guys think, really. This is something I've been thinking about a lot personally. And at the end of the day, just let me know what you guys think. I am pretty interested. This is one of those topics that I usually talk about on live streams instead. But regardless of what you think or believe, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for watching. God bless.